I'm sure there are people in their youth, in the younger days, they have written their own stories, drawn their own comics, come up with their own role play. Yeah, so actually, all this is actually part of the world building process. And sadly, these pursuits have been forgotten or buried when life comes in. Because you have to go to school, you have to get a job, your responsibilities come in. So a lot of that space for imagination and reflection is kind of buried under all this fast-paced life that we lead in the city nowadays. Yeah. But what struck me was that those dreams that continue to persist go on to transcend the boundaries of fiction and end up impacting the real world, spreading happiness.
Do you know what is world building? How can creative thinking help you in your career? I had these questions too when I saw Ryan Leong's profile on LinkedIn, so I invited him down for a chat with me on this podcast to find out more about what world building is about. If you like this podcast or have gotten any value from it, please let me know by clicking the like button and subscribing or leaving a comment behind, and I look forward to bring you more careers of millennials.
Ryan is interested in helping others express powerful ideas through compelling stories to help others benefit and thrive in their lives. Through creative thinking, he enjoys using architecture, illustrations, and graphic design. He graduated in 2019 from NUS with a Bachelor's of Arts in Architecture with honors. He has done a variety of internships, most recently as a designer at his university's career office. Now he dedicates his time on content creation from home and curriculum development for social enterprises. Ryan, so glad that you could join me on this podcast, and very happy to have you on the show.
Thanks, Andrew, and thanks everyone for tuning in. Yeah, so yes, like Andrew has said, I graduated from architecture last year. My interests also span illustrations and graphic design, and I was recently working at the NUS Career Center, where students to develop their career plans for the future. I also did some graphic design and marketing there. And now I'm working on curriculum development because COVID, and then now we have to take all our curriculum online. Yeah, so I'm venturing into that field as well.
So what sort of skills are you currently working on developing while you're working from home?
Current skills, more digital marketing, because nowadays all of us are restricted by the four walls of a screen. So I call it the real estate, your video real estate. The same applies for online media. You just have a screen by which to convey your information. So it is critical that you really know how to market your products in a very efficient and effective way. Yeah. So for example, maybe through a very compelling image or a very catchy tagline, something that arrests the attention. Yeah. Since nowadays everything moves so quickly, our attention spans are also dropping. It is vital to learn how to cater to these kind of changes.
Yeah, tell us a bit more about this content creation that you're doing. I saw on your LinkedIn you made some creative guides about your NUS journey, and you're also doing it for social enterprises. Tell us a bit more about what goes into those content.
Well, I could start with the root of why I'm doing all this. So after I graduated, I realized that being online most of the time, it is important to have a personal brand. So I did spend some time curating a guide or a playbook about myself. So people, when they engage with me online, they would know what I'm about, how I can add value to their fields. And then this will also help in the creation of opportunities for collaboration and development. Yeah, so LinkedIn was one of the ways that I did it. And also with the graphic design skills I learned from my time at the Career Center as a marketing executive, I also learned how to curate all the achievements and experiences I've been through into one cohesive document. Yeah, I also took the effort to kind of change up my backdrop. So when people interact with me, or they actually see all this, they kind of know what I do. Like, for example, over here you can see my social media handles, and then on my right you can see that I am a proponent of creative thinking, and of course all my books at the back also showcase like what I'm interested in. So it all adds to this personal branding image. Yeah, even down to the color coding of my dressing. It also helps to give a consistent marketing style. Yeah.
So where did you get this mindset that you need to get into digital marketing? I understand that you worked before in the NUS Career Office, where they talk a lot about personal branding. They talk a lot about building up your image and your social media profile. Did you get that mindset from there, or how did you build it up over time?
It actually happened during my student days when I attended this Roots and Wings module organized by the NUS Center for Future Ready Graduates. So that was when I started to focus more on the soft skills that are needed to thrive in a career. Yeah, because technical skills, yes, they are important, but the thing is that in the VUCA world, technical skills can render one obsolete. So what I found more important was the ability to develop such soft skills, and so that you'll be able to pivot efficiently to any other job that you do in the future. Yeah, so I made that a point of development during my university days. And I sought to develop them further by volunteering for opportunities, so such as taking part in competitions, dialogues. So this experience really helped me to hone these skills, and yeah, I would say that it has really allowed me to push the boundaries of my comfort zone. Yeah. So the end goal that I envision for myself is whenever I'm thrown in a situation, like just abruptly, I'm able to adapt quickly and make it into the best possible, give the best possible result.
Yeah, I just want to comment on your background. Like, you have this bookshelf, and it shows that you read a lot, and you also have this cardboard, and you have a illustration of yourself and your creative thinking. So I think, wow, it looks like your entire brand, and it speaks a lot about you. From the way I perceive it, it seems like you read a lot, and you're really serious about it. Like, you even have this jacket around on you. What's this pin that you have over there?
This pin was from a workshop that I attended. Yeah, so it's organized by Asia Works. It focuses on personal effectiveness, like how to challenge your limiting beliefs, how to make the best out of every situation you're in. Yeah, so I just keep this on my jacket as a reminder, as a daily reminder that I shouldn't be held back by limiting beliefs, and just be ambitious, go forth, try new things, don't be afraid to fail. Yeah, I think it is especially important to not be afraid of failure or not be daunted by failure. Yeah, once you can eliminate that limiting belief, you can really achieve so much more than you can expect. Yeah.
Tell us a bit more about one of the limiting beliefs that you overcame. Was there a limiting belief that you had in the past, and how did you overcome it?
One limiting belief would be the fact that I thought I wasn't good enough in anything that I did. Yeah, so I would just have this fear that people would go against me after I presented something, because they can say, oh, I know more than you, why should I be listening to you? Or I can do this better than you, why should I engage you to help me? Yeah, so actually these were just fears in my mind. And I realized that I shouldn't limit myself to these beliefs, because it would prevent me from expressing myself in the way I want to, or in the best possible way that I've always been hoping for. So by looking past these beliefs, I was just able to show up as who I really am, pursue the projects that I really want to do, and to not be affected by the comments or the trolls. Yeah, because ultimately, I believe that you must focus on those people that matter, because there will be people who are in need of help. They may be looking for directions, and by not showing up, I'm actually kind of, in a way, depriving them also from the possible growth that they could get from my experience. I mean, who knows? I mean, just sharing something from my experience could just maybe give them that step forward, or it could help them. I think the same applies for all of us. So if we could eliminate those inner fears and just show up as what we want to be, I think the world will be a better place.
Yeah. So you did architecture, and I think not many people have done it. So right now you're all about creative thinking, which is pinned on your behind your shoulder. So what's this creative thinking process that you have, and help me to break it down for me, because I'm an economist. I studied math and science and all that kind of stuff, but there isn't much. We didn't really go into the creative thought of things. So tell us a bit more about what goes through your mind. How would you define creative thinking?
Okay. Well, creative thinking is actually a very huge umbrella term. Yeah. And in the context of architecture, it would be kind of imagining how people will live their lives spatially, and of course in the future as well. So how I like to approach creative thinking is through the process of world building. Yeah. Have you heard of world building before, Andrew?
No, I haven't. That's the first time I saw it when I chanced upon your LinkedIn profile. World building. what is world building, and it seems very important to you.
World building can be kind of complex, but I'm trying to break this down into a very simple and engaging manner, because I feel that everyone can benefit from this, no matter which profession you're from. Yeah. So by simple definition, world building is imagining and creating fictional universes. Yeah. So I'm sure in popular culture, people will be familiar with Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, even Game of Thrones as one of the recent examples. So the beauty of all these franchises is that they enthrall us with narratives we can relate to, while also getting us to reflect and innovate about what life is like, what it can be, what kind of new designs we can create. Yeah, it's kind of embodying the creativity of the human spirit. Yeah. And chances there are out there, I'm sure there are people in the youth, in the younger days, they have written their own stories, drawn their own comics, come up with their own role play. Yeah, so actually, all this is actually part of the world building process. And sadly, these pursuits have been forgotten or buried when life comes in, because you have to go to school, you have to get a job, your responsibilities come in. So a lot of that space for imagination and reflection is kind of buried under all this fast-paced life that we lead in the city nowadays. Yeah. But what struck me was that those dreams that continue to persist go on to transcend the boundaries of fiction and end up impacting the real world, spreading happiness. So, for example, you can think of Disney World. Yeah. So Walt Disney's dream of Mickey Mouse. No, it all came out through concepts. It went onto paper, and then now it has become a realistic business model. Tourism. You have Star Wars Galaxy's Edge in Walt Disney World as well. So they like to experiment with different kinds of like science fiction designs and turn it into an experience that people can draw happiness from. I think the kids love places like this. You can also say the same for Lord of the Rings, Hobbiton in New Zealand. So they took the movie set and converted it into a tourist site. Yeah, and it's very therapeutic. I've been there before. It's amazing.
You mentioned that like when we grow up, we have these fantasy stories in our mind. We start to imagine things primarily, or I think it's because we watch things on TV. That drives the creative thinking process. And then after we stop watching Pokemon or stop watching Cartoon Network and start tuning into reality TV, Bloomberg TV, for me, I think I start to fantasize less and look at things in the real world. But how did you continue your world building thoughts even from since you were a kid? Have you been continuing it all the time, or did you disconnect and come into the real world and then go back to the world building again?
Well, for me, world building was a form of escapism. Yeah. So whenever I was stressed out or not feeling too well, I would kind of escape into this imaginative world of my own. Yeah. So I saw it as a sense of an avenue for therapy and to just feel that sense of happiness that I've held since I was a kid. Yeah. Because to be honest, the real world, the realities can hit pretty hard. Yeah. And I like to make sure that I'm always in a positive frame of mind so that I don't make the wrong decisions or premature decisions. Yeah, so world building was kind of like a coping mechanism. Yeah, I also leveraged on it as a design consciousness that allowed me to stretch my imagination, explore the wildest ideas I have, and then develop them into detailed and holistic ideas. Yeah, so this especially helped me when I was doing architecture in school. So if I needed ideas, I would draw onto this resource bank that I've accumulated over the years. Designs inspired from TV shows I've watched, movies I've seen, just drawings that I've doodled when I was bored in class. Yeah. So I see all these coming together as a kind of accumulative and integrative resource bank. Yeah. Even all these books behind me, they also give me inspiration that I use to continue developing my craft.
So right now, are you using world building to create a career out of it? Like, what are you thinking of? Tell us a bit more about how you're using world building to create your career.
So right now, I teach architecture to kids, and the challenge about teaching children is that you got to make it fun and engaging, so that you can bring out the best in them. So I feel that apart from teaching the architectural basics, the technical stuff and the concepts, it also helps to invoke a sense of imagination. And I feel world building ties in well into this process. Yeah, so you can get them to think about what movies have they watched. For example, some children that I've taught before, they've seen Hideo Miyazaki's movies, like Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle. So within these movies, they are very vivid and animated designs of like walking cities or flying machines, and you really just unleash your imagination. Even the kids came to me and said they use Minecraft, which is a game where you can use blocks to build cities, to build anything that you want. Yeah, and their eyes just light up when they mention this game, Minecraft. Yeah, and I've played before also, so I can understand. I empathize with them how powerful this tool can be to develop creativity. Yeah, so overall, you can think of world building as a design consciousness that allows you to pair it with storytelling for maximum effect. Yeah. So you just convey powerful ideas through compelling stories. Yeah. And with that, who knows, you can just inspire the next step of humanity's progress.
Wow, that sounds interesting. So you're using world building in your teaching to teach kids about architecture and invoke imagery in their minds to help them to understand the concepts of architecture, because it's very abstract. How would you encourage them to continue having that creative thinking process?
Well, okay, you think about it, actually all the fiction that we consume in our world is all inspired one way or another by reality. Yeah. So I would say it would be great if the children, or actually adults also, they can just keep a journal of what inspires them daily. Yeah. So for example, I brought up an example. This is my comic book series that I drew in the past when I was in primary school. Yeah. So I still keep a portfolio of all these things. So whenever I need ideas, or I just want to see how I've developed over the years, I can just refer to this resource. Yeah.
My goodness, I think I drew a comic book myself also, but I don't know where it is right now. I think it's thrown away already. Yeah.
Ah, so I think I also had a lot of other works that I threw away, sadly, and I hope that if there's one thing I want to impart to the younger kids of this generation would be to not throw away their works when they did in the past, because it really documents how they have transformed over the course of their education. It can be a very helpful tool for design thinking, even for nostalgic purposes as well. Yeah. So in short, keep a portfolio of what you've done. Yeah, I think that will really help. Yeah.
So besides keeping a portfolio, how would you encourage people to develop their creativity, no matter where they are in their lives, or find back, that sense that they had when they were young?
I'll say don't be afraid to dream. Yeah, just don't be afraid to dream and imagine. Like you may not need to uh, say it to other people or to convince other people. Yeah, I mean, of course, it'd be great if you could, but if not, there's no harm writing it down, consolidating it in a manifesto or something. So even after you're long gone from this world, the manifesto could perhaps be used to inspire something of the future. In fact, in architecture, we did go through manifestos like that. People were just like ancient architects or lay people. They just write down their thoughts, consolidate in a book. And across history, we uncover them and then realize, oh, this is rather interesting. What if we try it out in reality? Yeah. So one example would be some architects in the centuries back. They actually predicted the rise of high-rise apartment living. Yeah. So they imagined utopias. How people will be no longer living in single-story houses, but tall, rising apartments that reach into the sky. Yeah. At that time, it was a dream. But right now, it's actually reality. Yeah. Even dreams like, what if humans could fly like birds? What if they could go to the moon? What if they could go to Mars, which is, a hot topic now? Yeah. And all these questions, you can see that they have been realized, and some of them are perhaps being realized at this very moment. Yeah. So that's how all these dreams born of world building can actually take humanity to greater heights. That's my belief. And I hope to impart this process to the people I meet. Yeah, one way is through my Instagram account. So I'm trying to break down the process into neat infographics. So I just post them up online, and perhaps people over time they see the process. They might be inspired to do some creative thinking of their own. Perhaps even rekindle the fire that they might have lost years ago. Because ultimately, you want to be happy in life. Like you want to develop your potential to the best it can be. Yeah, and creative thinking is one way that you can realize this. Yeah, no matter what field you're in. So perhaps for those watching, if you're thinking of a business perspective, you can perhaps imagine how you want that stage presentation to play out, how you want your customer to experience your product, how you want life to be like on the moon or Mars in the future. So all this will require you to dive deep, imagine, and come up with something. It can be as simple as writing. If you prefer writing, you can write it out. If you prefer sketching, you can draw it out. If you want to use materials to make a model or use Minecraft to build up something you can visualize, yeah, go ahead. The possibilities are endless. Yeah, I'm just hoping that everyone can maintain that creative streak. And Andrew, creative thinking is actually a hot 21st century skill.
Okay, let's say we have all these creative thoughts already. We start to imagine and build the worlds, the imaginative world in around us. Then what's the next step then to turn that into reality? Because often, we are thinking really outside of the world, and I understand that in the creative process, you don't want to restrain any thoughts. You just want to make it very free flowing as imaginative as possible. Then what's the next step then to turn that into something realistic that we can really build in our own lives?
Well, the next step can be through participatory design. Yeah, so it's something that architects are increasingly involving in the design process. So no longer top-down approach. You don't sit in the high tower and then design for the people on the ground. You actually go and talk to them, find out what they want. Yeah. So let's say if everyone has done their own world building already, you invite all of them to the table. They take a look at all their ideas, connect the dots, see which is most realistic, fits within the budget, which can be the most socially empowering. So all these are just some examples. And then, yeah, you can take ideas from different people, merge them together and come up with something that really empowers the community. Yeah, so in that sense, everyone has a sense of ownership. And when one has a sense of ownership for the environment they live in, there's less likely to be like crime or wars, because people won't want to destroy what they've so painstakingly built up. Yeah, and it also adds another layer to the culture of the place. Yeah, so I can see a lot of very empowering prospects that could arise from this kind of collaboration. Yeah.
So what advice would you give to millennials in using world building to think about and plan their careers?
Well, I would like to bring in the example from this documentary I watched 2 days ago. Yeah, so it aired on CNA. It's called The Big Questions, The Future of Work. Yeah, so what they mentioned was that creative thinking is a very important skill, and you have to be able to connect the dots like Sherlock Holmes. Yeah, so Sherlock Holmes, the famous fictional detective, yeah, he has this ability for being very shrewd and being able to synthesize information from different lenses. Yeah, so I feel that millennials out there, if you are able to harness this skill, you'll be able to resolve a lot of conflicts because you can see the perspective from different people from different fields. You're better able to reconcile. You're better able to come to a solution and be very surgical in your intervention. Yeah, and of course, it might sound difficult, but just don't lose that passion for that. Be a curious explorer. Yeah, lifelong learning nowadays is very trending topic. Yeah, and if you're constantly passionate and curious about the world around you, then it's much easier when you work together as teams, when you want to innovate to tackle a certain problem. World building gives you that holistic thinking, yeah, and that consciousness. And of course, you will appreciate the world much better, because when you world build, you need a reference, and that reference is reality itself.
And what resources would you recommend people to look at, to better understand the creative thinking process?
Well, YouTube would be a great resource. Just type in world building, and there are a lot of channels out there that provide very in-depth analytical content on franchises of world building. So Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. I'm sure there are a lot of channels out there that look in depth into how these worlds have been constructed, how they reflect the attitudes of the creators, and how they give an idea of how society can be better. Yeah.
And where can people find your resources that you create about world building? You mentioned just now, you have that you have started an Instagram that you're trying to break down the steps of creative thinking.
So you can follow me at ArtAdventurer93. Yeah, on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay.
You can reach out to me on LinkedIn as well. Yeah, because I'm there pretty often. You can just strike up a conversation with me. You can see how it fits into your field of work as well.
Wow, very nice. So, Ryan, I'm impressed that you basically are dedicating your time to show people how they can use creative thinking in their lives. You're practicing it yourself as well while you're teaching kids on about architecture, and you're also doing it for social enterprises, right? What exactly is the kind of impact that you want to make around you?
The impact, I would like to see societies where citizens are more holistic in their thinking, more civic-minded, yeah, and generally just happier and more helpful. Yeah, because I did remember reading through the happiness index of cities around the world, and I'm just wondering how cities at the top have it so good, like, you know, that people are very happy, and I think this is something that humanity should not lose sight of. Yeah, just the ability to just be happy in what they're doing, yeah, and not to be weighed down by the burdens of the world. I think that's the most powerful mindset that one can have. Yeah, because it all starts from your thoughts. You know, the moment you are negative, everything is seen in a negative light. Yeah. So rather than waste energy thinking that way, why not do the opposite? See anything in a positive light. See the silver lining. See how you can make this better. Yeah. So not so much of a no but mindset, but a yes and mindset. Yeah. And I feel that this can really apply to all kinds of thinking thought process. So architecture, design thinking, futures planning, all this can I feel can really empower these fields of thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can be a thought leader in your own right as well, because when you will build, you are building according to your experiences, your rules. Yeah. So everyone has a unique perspective that they can really share with the world. And by sharing it, they can, who knows, along the way impact someone else, and yeah, just create societies that people can be proud of, and happy to be in.
Wow, Ryan, thanks so much for sharing your creative thinking process and walking me through what it means to you and how we can reignite or rekindle that creative thoughts that we used to have as kids, and how it's so important even today because it can lead to happiness. Thanks, Ryan, so much for joining me, and pleasure speaking to you.
Hey, same to you, Andrew. Yeah, well said. Yeah, what you mentioned just now. And yeah, hope to be in touch with you. Feel free to get back to me if you need more insights, more sharings. Happy to help.
Awesome. Great. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Careers of Millennials podcast. Check out my other episodes on my channel, and if you'd like to see more episodes on other careers, please let me know in the comments below, and I look forward to bring you more Careers of Millennials.